Alright, what is going on, everyone? Darkside Phil here, and welcome to Ask the King. Today is June 29th, 2017. That's right, only one day left in the month of June. It's time for me to answer your questions. I do this show every other month. And the way it works is that you, the viewers, have been posting up your questions on my website, thekingofhate.com. And I went through tons of those questions to pick the best ones to answer on today's show. In addition, I also posted up on my Twitter over here about an hour ago and said I would be accepting questions. I took in everyone's questions and I picked the best ones there to answer. If we have time, I may do some Q&A, Ask the King as well. Alright, we'll see. It depends, because typically I always say, oh, this show's great, it's going to be a 2-hour show, and then the show ends up running super late, okay? So if the show's already over, then I'm not going to be doing Q&A stream chat, but we'll see. I am live streaming the show, which I didn't used to do, but now I'm live streaming it again, which means you may be seeing some pop-up notifications over here for people who cheer, sub, or tip me during the stream. I will be doing thank you shout-outs during the course of the stream when I get an opportunity to. In fact, right now, I'll do a quick thank you shout-out to Zebra, who did a 100-bit cheer, and said, do you like French fries? I like French fries, I don't love them. Let's put it that way. I think some French fries are good. I don't think they're amazing. You also have to have one that's not completely disgustingly over-fried and covered in grease to enjoy it. But, yes, I will be taking in your comments during the course of the stream for people who are cheering, subbing, and tipping, and possibly, you know, answering some of those one-off questions there as well. By the way, it's a Red Dead Redemption notification because I forgot to swap them, which is fine. I mean, that's a cool one anyway. Who cares, right? That's what I'm playing recently anyway, and I'm wearing a cowboy hat for Ask the King, so I think it kind of fits. Sixth Moral wants to know if I have any plans for 4th of July. Yeah, it's called work. For me, it's work. I'll be working on the 4th of July like every day. I'll be playing games here with you guys. What? Now that is a really weird question. Nomos18 did a 100-bit cheer and says, would you rather only eat lasagna for the rest of your life or take care of a frog for the rest of your life? What? I don't even understand what that means. I don't want to eat lasagna for the rest of my life because I'd become insanely overweight and die. And I also don't want to take care of a frog. So the answer is neither. They both suck. Alright. So, already, if you're not aware, if you didn't get your questions in for this episode of Ask the King, there are already a forum thread. There's already a forum thread for next episode, which is going to take place the end of August. It's going to be August 24th, 2017. So you can already post up your questions on the KingofHate.com forums if you like. Now, if you want a guarantee, a 100% guarantee that your question will be answered, if you pledge to my Patreon, which you can find down below, alright, there's a tier level where when you pledge, you'll get your questions answered for sure. And our first whole segment here is going to be me answering patron questions, and there's a significant amount of them this time. So it definitely behooves you to be one of my patrons if you want to get your questions answered for sure on Ask the King, okay? Now, in addition to that, other patrons are going to get some shout-out notification, or not shout-out notification, but shout-out thank yous during this episode, because those who pledge another certain level, the perk is that they get a verbal thank you in my Ask the King series. So lots of stuff, right? Patreon is great. It allows you to get your questions answered, get thank yous. You also participate in monthly goals. In fact, right now, if you pledge to my Patreon within a day, so by the end of June, and you pledge $5 or more, you're going to get in on the Sonic event, where you're going to get to vote if I want to play Sonic 1, or Sonic Adventure 1, 2, or Shadow the Hedgehog in early August. So, awesome stuff on Patreon. Check it out below me. Another thing, you might say the show looks different this time around. Why does the show look so different, Phil? Well, what I decided to do this episode was zoom the camera out a bit, so the camera actually is zoomed out slightly more, and this allows you to see a little bit more. You can see it looks a little bit more like a studio, and you get to see my shirt a little more. And before people start asking, what is that shirt Phil is wearing? It's a Rick and Morty shirt from the latest 1UP box. If you're not aware, I've been unboxing this new subscription service called 1UP Box on my vlogging channel, The King of Hate Vlogs, and I just unboxed this one, I think, Tuesday? I'm not 100%, I think it was Tuesday, and this was the shirt that came with it, a cool Rick and Morty shirt that I like, so I wore it for the show today. So you can check my unboxings out of those on the King of Hate Vlogs when you get a chance, alright? And yes, it is, it's drawn in the style of like Calvin and Hobbes or Dr. Seuss. It's pretty cool the way it's drawn, okay? Alright, so real quick, one more shout out here. What on earth? Alright, so we got a troll cheer of 110 bits, and I'm not going to read any of it because it's obviously a troll cheer. There you go. And that's the cool thing is these people send me money, and they think I'm going to read out their messages when I have no obligation to do so. So there you go. Thanks for the money. Okay. Let's get to the questions. So first off, patron questions. So the first one is from Vera. And Vera, I believe, had maybe 2 questions. Let's see. So first of all, Vera's first question. Do you think that KOGaming has been worth it so far? I understand the videos tend to bring in some more views than maybe a standard playthrough video, but do you think it's been more profitable than just streaming during the time you would be editing? Sorry, but that's too personal. I'm just interested in the background stuff that goes into the job. Interesting question, because Vera actually asked this question a couple months ago, like right after the last Ask the King had happened, and now things are a little different. So let me explain. KOGaming. This was a channel I set up in early 2016 because I wanted to diversify myself. I wanted to still do gameplay and live streaming, but I still wanted to do vlogging, but I also wanted to break out and do more edited style videos. And for the most part, I would say in 2016, KOGaming worked, but didn't work the way that I really wanted it to or expected, all right? So allow me to explain. What I was hoping was that if I did constant edited style reviews that put a lot more effort into them than my old reviews where I would just talk to a camera like this, editing gameplay and stuff like that, that people would appreciate it, and maybe it would get more views, get more attention on YouTube because it's more in line with what people expect for a video review on YouTube. But I also wanted to branch out and do things like countdowns and montages and special events and all kinds of stuff over on KOGaming. Well, here's what happened. KOGaming took off virally, meaning there were a few videos on there that got hundreds of thousands. If one video got 1 million views, but it was only when I did a negative review. In fact, I hate to say it, but it seems to me that YouTube in general has become a website that's for negativity and drama. And I hate to say that because I've been on YouTube for some, 10 years, and I've done this for, a job for over 7. But the bottom line is that the common viewer now is only in it for negativity and drama. So if I do a review that says, oh, this game sucked, it would get tons of views. But if it was a great game and I reviewed it, it would barely get any attention. Because people don't want to hear the good stuff. They just want to hear the negative because the common viewer on YouTube has become this, like, immature person who just wants negativity. And I'm not all about that. When I'm going to review a game, I'm going to be honest. And I'm going to be positive if it's a good game. And really, that's what happened last year with KOGaming, is I had a short span there between May to June to July where I was playing some really bad games and I reviewed them and they got giant attention because of that. But then when I started reviewing games that weren't so bad, once the hardcore gaming season of the fall hit, no one wanted to hear that and people just basically stopped watching the videos. And it was ridiculous because I was still putting in the same amount of time and effort, but just because the games are good, now people don't want to watch. It doesn't make any sense. But again, logic doesn't really define what people watch on YouTube. They watch negative, stupid, drama-filled shit because that's what's popular on YouTube because it's an immature viewing audience. So, after a year of doing KOGaming in that method, I said, it kind of sucks because I had that popularity, but because I'm not that negative style of person, I couldn't maintain that level of popularity. But it's okay, I'll just keep going. And then what happened? Well, YouTube ad revenue plummeted because YouTube fucked up and had a completely automated system for their advertisements. Advertisers didn't like that their advertisements were going on videos that weren't pertinent to the customer base they wanted to advertise to. They were advertising on racist videos, terrorism videos, and they were like, fuck this, and they cut the cord, and they all left. So in the month of February, YouTube ad revenue declined by around 50 to 60% for everyone on YouTube. So everyone took a 50 to 60% pay cut. And the bottom line is, right now, I'm in a situation where I have to do what works in order to keep being able to live stream and put out videos for you on a daily basis and do this for a living. What works right now for me is balancing live streaming, like I'm doing right now, with videos on YouTube that are more gameplay related. Because the gameplay throughs, the live streams of gameplay, those are my lifeblood right now. DSP Gaming is what's making me money on YouTube. Right now, the King of Hate vlogs and KOGaming make me nothing. Like maybe a couple $100s a month tops, which is not enough to keep, the bills, the electricity on and the internet paid for and the bills going. It's just not. So I have to go towards what works. And what works right now is more gameplay streams, and keeping the streams more interactive with you so that I can get things like tips and cheers and all of that. And that's the bottom line. That's what's going on right now. Now, some people, sadly, don't understand that. And they think that the world is black and white, and they think that things never change. And they're like, Phil, you promised us KOGaming and you gave up on KOGaming. Dude, like, last year, that was my focus because things were different. YouTube ad revenue was good. YouTube ad revenue is now terrible. And I have to do what it takes to stay afloat. So, for example, if I was doing like I did last year, one gameplay stream a day, and then every night taking 2 to 3 hours a night to edit a video, I probably wouldn't be paying my bills right now. I'm being real with you. I wouldn't. Doing edited style videos on YouTube right now doesn't pay off. The reason why DSP Gaming is still doing okay is because I have over 40,000 gameplay videos on that channel already, and because I continuously play games on that channel and put out new content for you. That channel is so unique in the way it is compared to other gameplay channels, and that's the truth too. If DSP Gaming weren't unique and different from everyone else, right now it would be failing, like most other YouTubers who are complaining that they can't pay their bills because of what's going on. Luckily, I'm not in that position. I'm in a position here where, because DSP Gaming is just raw gameplay, and the sheer amount of videos that are on there, and the sheer amount of playthroughs that I've done, and I didn't focus on just editing the best of moments and the shit like that, because I did it differently, I'm succeeding. Like, I'm still able to do this for a job. If my DSP Gaming channel were like everyone else on YouTube, and it was edited gameplay, and I only uploaded 1 to 2 videos a day, I probably would be out of business right now. So, who could have predicted that me doing it the way that I did it actually worked properly, right? I'm just saying it worked out because of my unique style, okay? But, that being said, now I have to stick to what works. So what that means is, am I completely abolishing doing reviews? Absolutely not. Am I completely throwing away the idea that I would do a reactions video or a first impressions video on a hot new release? Absolutely not. But KOGaming is going to be a channel that, when the opportunity arises, when I can do something pertinent and I know I can fit it into a schedule and it won't negatively affect me, then I'll do it. So I'll give you a perfect example here. Come the fall, when all the new releases are coming out, and I'm playing them and people want to know, gee, is that new release a good one? If I can put a review out within a week of the release of a game, I'll do it, and I'll spend the time to make that edited video and release it on KOGaming. But right now, during the summer, there's no new releases. The games that I'm playing are downtime games. No, I'm not going to drop doing gameplay streams and stuff that are bringing in the money to pay my bills to do an edited video on KOGaming. It would make 0 sense. And I would be shooting myself in the foot doing that, because I know even if I had a video right now, again, on KOGaming that went viral, it wouldn't even make a lot of money. That's just how it is. Individual videos really aren't doing a lot. It's more about having this big, giant library of videos that people are constantly viewing, which is what I have on KOGaming, what I have on DSP Gaming, and why DSP Gaming is able to succeed the way that it's doing. Okay? Okay, so there's the answer in regards to KOGaming. Now, there's a second question from Vera. Is there a setting in games that you feel is unexplored? If so, what do you think and why? Well, let's see. Obviously, urban life has definitely been explored. Like being in a city. Plenty of games that take place in big cities, right? When you think of different climates, jungle's been overdone. Desert has been overdone. Like frozen tundra area, maybe that hasn't been done as much. Maybe a survival game that's like set in the Antarctic or something like that could be interesting. There certainly hasn't been a lot of games about suburban life, right? Like you might say, oh, The Sims or whatever, but I'm talking about a game that has a setting like in suburbia. Most games end up taking place in giant, like, populated places or something like that, usually for plot reasons, you know what I mean? Like, they figure, oh, if we're in a big city, there's more around, more to do, and you look at stuff like that, that's kind of the case. So that being said, definitely I would say, maybe suburbia, a game set in suburbia, something like that could be something interesting. I would like to see more games set in a more international climate, because typically when you have a game, it's either like in America or the USA or in Europe. When's the last time you had a game that took place in Canada? When's the last time you had a game that took place in Mexico or South America? You know what I mean? Like, most games take place in these very common areas. Why can't we have a game that takes place in a totally different area and we get to learn culturally about other peoples and stuff like that, right? Or maybe a game that has a multicultural cast with India, you know, the Middle East, you know, maybe 1 or 2 European countries, Africa, and all these characters maybe interact somehow in some way. I don't know. I'm just saying, it does seem to me like a lot of games take place in the same general areas all the time, and it lends to a lot of, say, repetition rather than having the diversity. You know what I mean? And I don't mean, oh, what are you talking about? Overwatch takes place worldwide. Sure, but it's a first-person shooter. I'm talking about like a narrative-based game, a game that has a story and character development in a worldwide setting. I think that could be pretty interesting. And that really hasn't been done. You know what I mean? Think about it that way. All right. So I'm going to go on to the next question, but I've noticed I've gotten some significantly huge tips on the stream today. So hold on a moment so I can give these shout outs. Here we go. So first of all, thank you to Stinkin' Burrows, who did a 40-bit cheer and said troll tip, because he's responding to the troll tip that I got, or the troll cheer that I got earlier. Special thanks to Hank Duma, who did a $100 tip on the stream today and said, followed your channel ever since the early days of Fallout 3 in 2008. Wishing you all the best for a future. Here's a little contribution for all the entertainment. Hank. Awesome. Thank you, Hank, for the $100 tip. Much, much appreciated. And that will definitely help out, you know, right now. So thank you. And now, a $200 tip from Vidar. And he says, KOGaming is actually good. I've watched close to every video on there. Not everything has to make monetary sense. Some things that you do to build character and that you can't put a price on. KOGaming has been and continues to be positive for you. I agree. I certainly agree. And I think that being able to do edited style videos makes me more diversified and gives me more of a chops. Let me give you an example. If I decide to not be a full-time YouTuber moving forward, I could show the stuff that I've done on KOGaming to a potential future employer and say, look, this is the kind of video that I did by myself with no training and no education. I put this style of video together. You could use me for your website, or maybe I could be a journalist for you or something like that. That's more professional stuff than the stuff that I do on my other channels. I absolutely admit that. But at the same time, I'm in a situation right now where I have to pay my bills. Like, you see what I'm saying? Like, it's not like it used to be where there was I had the opportunity to take those hours of a day and say I could make an edited video even if I don't really have anything special to do it about. I could still do it. I don't have that flexibility anymore. I'm by myself. I have one income paying all the bills here now. I'm trying to keep this house, which is going to be very tough for me moving forward. My credit is terrible because of all the debt in my name. I am in a bad situation, all right? So right now, I have to focus on what works and what's making me enough to pay the bills, which right now is the daily gameplay streams, focusing on gameplay and playthroughs on YouTube. Like I said, come the fall, when new game releases are coming out and people want more reviews, I'll definitely do them. But I can't, like, for example, this summer, so why don't you just do a downtime series on KOGaming of a countdown? I can't, man. I got to do gameplay, because that's right now is what's working. All right? Fair enough? And thank you again very much to Hank Duma and to Vidar for the tips. Awesome. I mean, that's a really cool way to start the stream today. Awesome stuff. Okay. So let's continue on here. We got many, many more patron questions to go to here. All right. The next question. So this next person, his name is Big Tone 995. I've seen him around the streams recently. He cheers and does stuff like that. So he's an awesome person. And he had a bunch of questions for his patron pledge. So let's get through all of his questions. All right. First off, what do you think is the most rewarding thing about your job that you didn't expect when you first started to do YouTube for your full-time job? I would say there's hold on a second. Whoops. My phone's vibrating. I'm trying to stop it. It's annoying me. There. Hopefully that turned it off. Number one thing I really like is being able to make my own schedule and being able to adjust things on the fly. Because honestly, over the years, how many crazy things have happened? Things I didn't expect. Things that come out of left field. And I'm able to make my own schedule. Yeah, it sucks when I'm late to a stream or whatever, but I like the fact that I can adjust on the fly. Right now, I'm battling allergies, and I'm battling not having a steady sleep schedule because of some stuff that's happened in my personal life. I'm able to make later streams and stream longer, right? And not have to worry about, oh no, I had a 9-to-5 job, and now I can't, you know, I'm late to work every day. It's not like that. It's different. I'm able to be flexible. I'm able to, today I can do Ask the King, tomorrow I'm back to gameplay. I can variate my schedule. It's all about me being the boss, and that's cool. So that's one of the major things I absolutely like about doing this full time. Number two, I would say the fact that I get a lot of interaction with people. So, for example, I get to live as I do stuff. I get to see how people react, what people like, what people don't like. I get to joke around with people. I get to see that direct line of contact where people say, thank you, Phil. I get messages all the time of, Phil, I love your videos. You know, you really help me out in a bad time, or you make me laugh every day and stuff like that. That stuff is awesome. And when I just started making videos for YouTube frivolously, 10 years ago, I never fucking thought that I would ever do anything that would be something significant and a positive thing for anyone. It was just me dicking around, some guy, Joe Schmo, not good at video games or whatever, just dicking around, sometimes getting drunk and making these silly videos. And here we are, nearly 10 years later, and I'm still doing it, and people are loving the live streams. I've become a part of ongoing people's lives and schedules. That's pretty crazy to think about it, right? Holy shit, that's a significant contribution to the positive part of a lot of people's lives. I never thought that something like that would happen, ever. Okay. Number 2, when you were younger, what did you think you would be doing right now with your life? Did you ever think gaming would be this big a part of your life? I've always been the kind of person that I don't look super far forward. And the reason is because my life has been one of the most tumultuous stories. Just in the course of my life, I went from thinking that I was going to do computer science as a major, to finance and business, to selling electronics, to doing an office job at a helicopter company, to doing continuous improvement work, which is very different from just doing a customer service job, to then doing YouTube and now live streaming. You know what I mean? Like, my life has evolved and changed so much over the years, dramatically, that I never was the person that 10 years from now, this is what I'll be doing. I never would have been right. I would have been so fucking wrong. You know what I mean? Because here's the thing, right? Who would have known that YouTube would have even existed? Who would have known that Twitch would have existed? Who would have known that any of this shit would have existed? Would I have thought, 10, 15 years ago, that daily I'd be posting my pictures of stuff on Instagram and people would be interested? That I would tweet something up on Twitter and 20,000 people would read it and care? Of course not. I didn't fucking think that. But that's my reality now. Things so different, right? Life is crazy the way that it works. So no. I mean, I never thought anything like this would happen. Did I ever think that gaming would be a big part of my life? Yeah, I always thought that video games would be a big part of my life because I grew up with them. Whether it was playing Street Fighter in an arcade, whether it was sitting at home playing all the hottest releases and stuff on Super NES and then later on the other console. Like, gaming was always an integral part of my life, but did I ever think that it would be so much of my life that it's like my daily thing of what I do for a living? No, of course not. Never. Because I never really aspired to be a game developer, and back then there was no other way to make a living with gaming, so I had no idea that it would ever be anything like this. He says, there are a few games that I saw that are indie titles. Would you ever consider exploring some of these games? All right, let's go through his list here and see if I'm interested in any of these games, if I even know what half these games are. The Turing Test. I don't know what that is. I heard it could be an interesting game. In regards to, I guess it's supposed to be some kind of like a psychological thriller game or something. I don't know. Firewatch, I played. I don't know if you're aware, Big Tone. I played that last year, so you can check that playthrough out over on DSP Gaming right now. And by the way, this is a perfect opportunity to bring up, some people don't realize I have a website that indexes all of my playthroughs. If you go to thekingofhate.com right now, at the top of the page, there's tabs. If you click on playlists, a search option opens up. You can search right there, and any playthrough that I've ever done on the internet will come up. So you can search Firewatch, it'll bring up the Firewatch playlist, and you can watch it from there. This engine was custom created by my website designer, Onyx. It is incredibly better than anything on YouTube. You will find all my stuff right away. You could sift through all the bullshit. You never have to use YouTube search again if you're looking for my stuff. So thekingofhate.com, click on the playlist tab, search. It's a godsend. It really is. Okay. In the Sleep. Now, I had never heard of In the Sleep. I've heard of Among the Sleep, and that was that game that I played a couple years back. I don't know what In the Sleep is. Kona and Kola. Nah, see, I don't know I never heard of those games. Hey, we have indie events that are happening right now. People are voting on what indie games I'll be playing in an upcoming marathon in late July. If people nominate these games, I would play them, but a lot of these games didn't get nominated. You know what I mean? Okay. Next question. Let's see here. Oh, his last question. With ideal circumstances, what do you see yourself doing in the next 5 years? If you could, would you expand on what you have now, or would you go in a completely different direction from YouTube? Great question. Right now, let's say if everything went perfectly according to plan, here's what I would love. I don't know if it's ever going to happen, all right? First of all, I would hope that me continuously doing gameplay streams on Twitch and videos on YouTube the way I'm doing right now would grow. And right now it is. And I just want to tell everyone, positive growth right now on Twitch. I recently hit over 35,000 followers. I recently hit over 5 million stream views. So things are going good on Twitch. I'm noticing that my subscriber count is slowly climbing. Okay. And the amount of bits and cheers and tips and everything that I'm getting here on Twitch is growing. So ever since I started doing this back in March, it's actually consistent growth on Twitch, which is good. That tells me that the real viewing audience for this kind of stuff is now on Twitch. And I know, don't take this the wrong way if you're a YouTube viewer of mine. I'm not giving up on YouTube or anything like that, but it seems to me the future is Twitch. I mean, everything is pointing towards this, all right? So this is all good, positive news. If I could keep this going, and let's say by the end of this year, especially with all the new releases coming out in the fall that people are going to absolutely want to see me live stream and play on YouTube. If I can keep this positivity going and growth going, what I would hope is that I can stay where I am right now, all right? And let's say give it 1 to 2 years. Right now, there's a ton of equity building up in my house. My house is worth a lot of money and growing. Right now, where I live in Seattle is a hotbed for real estate. People want to move here, and values are going up, up, up. If I could keep this house for a few more years, what I'm looking to do is build a ton of equity in the house and do one of two things. Either find a way to finance in all of my freaking debt that's killing me and put it into the mortgage, okay, which would free me up completely. It would raise my credit score, and I would be good financially. Now I would have more flexibility. Do I want to go on trips and cover things like go to E3 or go to conventions again and stuff I used to do when I had that financial flexibility? I could do it. But I can't do it right now because I'm in so much of a bad situation financially, all right? Do I want to expand? Do I want to try to do more stuff on YouTube? Do I want to try different series or something like that? Then I could do it. Right now, I'm literally in a situation I can't. I can't afford to try stuff. I have to stick with what's working to keep stuff going, all right? So that's number one. Now, when you say long term, what else would I like to do? Do I ever want to give up completely on YouTube? No. Do I ever want to give up completely on live streaming? No. I love doing it. I wouldn't still be doing this if I didn't love doing it. I want to keep doing this no matter what. But the bottom line is I need to find a way to make it financially feasible for my long-term. My long-term game, can I continuously stream and do videos like this? I don't think so. I think what I need to do is find a way to balance what I'm doing here with something else. Whether that means going out there and finding another full-time job to balance with it, okay. I don't know if that's feasible, especially with all the shit on the internet about me. That's just plain slander and shit. Who the hell's going to hire me? So maybe it's a matter of starting a business of some sort and balancing my own business with YouTube and streaming, right? Something like that. I don't know what it is because at this point I'm so far away from that point that I can't even answer that question, right? If things go perfectly according to plan, all right, and I can either find a way to make money with this stupid condo I have in Connecticut or get rid of it so it's not a financial burden on me anymore. And if I can find a way to keep this house for a couple more years till I build enough equity to get rid of all my outstanding debt, and now I'm in a better financial situation, I can start traveling and basically we can go back to how things were before I changed up everything and I moved to Washington and all of that. It could be like I have more flexibility, I have more control over my life, which I want to get back. You know, now I'm single again and I want to get that control back where I have that flexibility. I would love, honestly, to go to E3 in a year or two and cover it legitimately and actually, instead of doing it how I did in 2012 when I went with Machinima and Machinima flubbed the whole fucking thing and didn't explain to me how to cover it and didn't get me behind the scenes coverage with these game developers. I would like to have that foot in the door where I could talk to game developers, do exclusive footage, do hands-on with games, and show you that kind of behind the scenes stuff. I think that would be tremendous. But I can't do it right now because I don't have any money. That's the bottom line. I need to get to that level, okay? I definitely need to get to that level first, which I can't. I'm not at that level anywhere near it right now. So, ideally, yeah, I'd like to do more on YouTube. I'd like to go back to how it used to be where I could travel and do all that stuff. But long term, I'd like to maybe balance it with something else. But I don't ever want to give up. I still want to do this. Even if I don't do every game release, I'd like to at least cover some of the major games every year, right? Still do streams, still do playthroughs of the major games. and go from there. But I have a lot of work to do to get to that level. Right now, I'm still in kind of the dire straits mode where I'm just trying to keep the lights on, keep the electricity going, keep the internet paid for, and basically pay all my payments every month and not be overdrafting my bank account and shit like that. So, okay. We're almost done with the patron questions, so I'm going to continue because I think we have 2 more to go through. So the next question is from El Trumpo. He says, do you think weed will benefit society with taxes plus recreational benefits as well? If it becomes a booming market, would you consider working for a weed company? Listen, marijuana is much like alcohol and all other kind of regulated substances in the United States of America. Is it a horrible substance that will ruin your life? No, unless you're one of these people who become so addicted and ridiculously overcome with it that you cannot stop yourself from smoking every possible moment, which is the same thing that happens with alcohol. People get drunk and they become drunks and they can't stop drinking constantly, and it screws up their lives too, right? I think what it is people are just afraid. These conservatives are so afraid of weed. Oh my God, reefer madness, right? It's going to end the world. That they don't really understand what it is. And most of them probably have never tried it anyway, so they really don't know what it is. And I think that it could end up being a recreational thing that'll make a ton of money if regulated properly and if everything's done properly. So, will I work for a weed company? No. I mean, first of all, I wouldn't do it myself anyway. I hate smoking. I hate any kind of smoke in my lungs. I mean, I have bad allergies. You can hear right now my throat itself is hoarse. I would never be into that kind of a thing because I know that I couldn't. But I wouldn't work for the company, but I certainly am not anti-weed. Let me put it that way. I'm not super drug enforcement anti-weed or anything like that. I certainly think that it could work as a way to raise funds in the United States. Okay. Would you also consider doing more co-op playthroughs when there's a game that gives the opportunity? Sure. The problem is, honestly, if you look the past few years, there really hasn't been a lot of opportunity for co-op that was anything that was interesting. I mean, this year it was what? That fucking Ghost Recon Wildlands? The year before, it was that game I can't even remember the fucking name of anymore. Tom Clancy's something that I skipped. And those games weren't great. I completely skipped them. I missed nothing. Destiny 2 is coming up. And I'm on the fence about playing it. Although some people have already contacted me and said I would like to do co-op with you in it. And that could be interesting. But honestly, like co-op, the era of co-op isn't really that prominent anymore. Now it's all about competitive online, competitive online, competitive online. And the co-op aspect, in a lot of ways, has gone away, unless you're talking about these grindy, like, repetitive experiences that just don't seem very fun to me. So, that's kind of the deal. Is, yeah, if there were some great, oh my God, groundbreaking co-op games have been released, great, but most of the co-op games that come out end up being repetitive grinds, rehashes, and not anything too interesting. I would say Destiny 2 is probably the first one I'm considering playing coming up. Okay. Some retro replay suggestions. Resistance Fall of Man. Did I play Resistance 1? No, I played Resistance 2 and 3, right? I never played Resistance 1. Okay. Super Mario Sunshine. That's true. That's one I never played. Lego Star Wars The Complete Saga. I think I own Lego Star Wars 1, but I don't own The Complete Saga. The bottom line, though, is most people, when I play Lego games, think they're boring. And I'm even talking back in the day, when I used to do Lego co-op with John Rambo, back when those, the co-op was usually super popular. Whenever we played Lego games, people were like, this is boring. So, I don't know. I mean, Lego games are definitely relaxing and interesting and fun. I find them personally fun, but I don't know if they translate to, like, a mainstream audience who would want to see that kind of stuff. Okay. And then he says, Ratchet & Clank, A Crack in Time. Yeah, I've never played that one. All right, last patron question. This one is from Dooley. Dooley, a very, he's here for a lot of streams. He's also a big bit contributor, so thank you, Dooley, for that. Dooley says, Phil, I think it's safe to say that VR has been unsuccessful so far, as you predicted. And what technology would you like to see the gaming companies invest in? Do you think gaming will be completely different in 10 years? Well, let's clarify here. Do I think that VR is 100% non-successful? No. If you actually look at sales numbers, the PSVR did sell at least a significant amount of units, okay? So did Oculus Rift and HTC Vive at their launches, right? But when you actually look at the long-term implementation of this hardware, yeah, it's failed. Because the thing is, if you have a piece of hardware, you want it to be something that becomes an integral part of the gameplay experience. And the bottom line is, it hasn't. If you look at the games coming out for VR, they're really not anything special. And even just skipping a lot of them isn't a big deal. most people, I mean, I'll be honest, some people who played games that I didn't have told me, Phil, good thing you didn't, because I got sick playing it. I have a friend who has a PSVR and played a bunch of VR games recently. One of them was that Farpoint game that everyone wanted me to play. They played it for about 25 minutes and vomited. That's what I mean. Like, VR, it could work, but it seems to me like it's more of a short-term, digestible mini experience kind of a deal versus I want to play a 10-hour game in VR. You know what I mean? And it's funny because I actually see that, you know, look at E3 this year. And there were some games, don't get me wrong, there were some games that were definitely a big focus of E3 VR. I mean, Bethesda is coming out with Skyrim, Fallout, and Doom for VR, right? Sony had a bunch of things they announced for PSVR. But when you actually look at the scope of the amount of things being announced for VR versus everything else, VR is like this, like 5%, maybe 10%, 4%. It's a very small percentile of what game developers are focusing on because I think they've seen the common person doesn't want to spend $600+ for a giant piece of hardware they have to wear on their fucking head for an experience that may or may not even seem to be something worth that amount of money. Oh, by the way, a lot of people get motion sick when they play it, and it's uncomfortable. Right now, a lot of the VR headsets, just wearing them for extended periods of time is uncomfortable. It makes your head sweat, gives you headaches, whatever. And I said this exactly this. I said this over a year ago. In early 2016, everyone was hyped because the Oculus Rift was going to be mainstream available to everyone, and the PSVR was coming out later in the year, and I said, I don't think this is going to be anything big. Here we are a year later. I was right. I mean, I don't know how many times I've said stuff like this about these gimmicks in hardware, and it ends up being 3D TVs. Oh, everyone's 3D TV, 3D TV. That fucking flop. No one even talks about it anymore. No one even cares if there's 3D in a game or in a movie or anything anymore. It's completely superfluous to any kind of experience that you really think about. And VR is the same thing. Really, it's not. It's just not a big deal. No one's hyped about VR. No one's going crazy about VR anymore. It was a little flash in the pan where people thought it would be popular. It didn't explode and take off. And now it's just kind of there if you want it, but there's no real... What is the killer app? What is the one thing you absolutely must experience in VR? It's going to change your gaming life forever. Crickets, right? Because there is none. There are games that could be played in VR like Resident Evil 7. Yeah, sure. But does it innately add anything so good to the experience you must experience it in VR? No. There hasn't been a single game yet where that's been the case. Okay, I think that... Oh, so the second half of his question, Dooley's question... Is there any kind of technology that I would like to see gaming companies invest in and maybe put into games? You know, I'm going to be honest, and I've said this over the years, and I'll say it again. I don't think it's about the technology. I think what happens is these gaming companies, they lose their creativity and their originality. And when they run out of ideas for creative original games, they now have to find a gimmick to get other people to jump in and spend money. So right now what they're thinking is, well, maybe the gaming market is saturated for who we have. We have to bring in other people. So let's have silly gimmicky motion controls. Let's have a stupid camera that you talk to on top of your TV called the Kinect. Let's have VR headsets you put on your fucking head. And this will attract other people who maybe normally wouldn't have been part of the gaming landscape. And we can get a new customer base to come in. In reality... In all of reality, I really think what would be more successful for these guys is to hire more creative fucking people. Get people to come in who are going to make unique gameplay experiences that we haven't experienced before, okay? Bring in people who will make a game that I say, wow, that is the must-play game of 2017 because it was so different and creative and just a robust experience unlike any other, versus, oh, generic first-person shooter number 472, or grindy co-op game number 4,000,075, or, you know what I mean? Every game now follows this cookie-cutter mold, and it's very, very rarely when you see a game break that mold and be successful. That's what we need, I think. We had an era, a burgeoning era. There was one era in the 1990s when games were becoming 16-bit and 32-bit where people were innovating, and then it happened kind of again, I would say around the Xbox 360 PS3 era, and since then we've just seen a lot of copy-paste. We haven't seen a lot of innovation in game design, and that's what we really need to see, innovation in the design of the actual games themselves, not in how you control the game with gimmicks and peripherals and shit, because that doesn't really add enough to warrant people to come in and drop a ton of money on new controllers and new methods to play. I just want good games. I think that's what we're missing right now. okay? All right. So that is it. We actually just finished the patron questions. So that's going to be it for part 1 of Ask the King. I'm going to take a short break. We're going to come back from break, and then I'm going to be doing part 2. We're going to head to the forum questions. And keep in mind, coming up, we've still got Twitter questions and possibly stream Q&A questions if we have a chance for them. I believe I have to do a couple shout-outs. Shout-out to Fallen1570, who did a 200-bit cheer. He says, it's not much, but thank you for all that you do. I've been a fan since LA Noir. You're one of the main YouTubers I watch, and watching your content has helped me through some tough times, just to be honest. Thank you, Fallen. Listen, 200-bit cheer is great. I don't shirk stuff like that. Thank you. That's a lot, and thank you very much for your support, and thanks for being a long-time viewer. I appreciate your positive message. And also shout out to Timic83, who did a 50-bit cheer. And he says, I played a VR fighting game at a tournament and pushed myself past my physical limits because I was so engrossed. It's scary the brain sees it as so real. That's pretty cool. VR fighting game, because it's funny, because recently I tried out VR in Tekken, and it was a complete cop-out. It wasn't really VR at all, which was a joke. I was so angry at that. Yeah, see what I mean? If you could have innovation, a killer app with VR that makes you want to play it because of VR, that would be cool, but I haven't experienced that yet. Maybe I'd like to try that and see what that feels like, okay? Shout out to Dooley, who did a 600-bit cheer. Thank you, Dooley. All right. So good start, obviously, to Ask the King. Thanks, everyone. I'll be back. If you're watching live on stream, I'll be back in a few minutes with part 2. If you're watching on YouTube, I'll just end this part, and you can check out part 2 for yourself. All right, thanks, everyone. I'll be back shortly.